What a pleasure to see so many previous TechFast 50 faces in the room and so many new ones. I'm Joshua Tanshaw, I'm a partner within Deloitte Private, and I'm delighted to say that I've been the chief herder of cats for the Fast 50 program for the last 8 years. And a pretty exciting ride it's been. Since we launched the program 14 years ago, 4 Technology Fast 50 companies have gone on to win Asia Fast 500 awards and become global players. The likes of Freelancer, Car Sales, Seek, BigCommerce and SiteMinder are getting worldwide accolades and becoming very big businesses. And I've personally never been more excited about what I'm seeing in the tech ecosystem in Australia on a whole range of fronts, from the consumer perspective, the ubiquitous access to technology that we have today, to the application that technology has across a wide range of industries and the changing business models, from the democratization of scale that software is bringing and how that is enabling emerging companies to compete with those larger competitors. When we also look at what's happening with the ESOP program, how that's changed, and many people in this room were really strong advocates of changing that, and that's now happened since the 1st of July next year. When we look at the growth that's happening in cloud-based accounting and software, it's really starting to grow within Australia. And then when we look at the global interest in our Australian ecosystem, the likes of Accel Partners who've invested over $250 million in some of our previous TechFast 50 winners, and Insight Ventures who've invested $266 million in a company, Campaign Monitor, that makes me hugely optimistic for the future. So Silicon Valley moves to Silicon Beach. Well, I don't think that that's such a far stretch to make. And when we look at the G20 in Brisbane yesterday, where they talk specifically about how high-tech growth companies need to be on the agenda of the G20. Because when you look at the IPOs of Facebook and Twitter and Google, there have been 4 million global millionaires created. So here tonight in the Australian Securities Exchange, we are delighted to have the ASX as our major sponsor for this year's TechFast 50, because they see the opportunity that technology has to reshape the Australian economy. So shortly I'm going to introduce Elmer Funky Cooper to say a few opening comments, and David Hill, our national partner of Deloitte Private, will then come and say a few opening remarks. David actually brought the program to Australia in 2001 and has really been a really strong advocate internally for the work that Deloitte's been doing in the entrepreneurial sector. So Elmer started his stint as CEO of the ASX in 2011, but before that he was the CEO of Tabcorp Holdings Limited. So he knows a thing or two about placing a sure bet, and I'm sure that sure bet is going to be on the technology sector. So Elmer, it's my great pleasure to hand over the mic to you, followed by David.
Thanks so much. Thank you very much for that introduction. I thought I'd take my time. I felt very strange amongst all of you. And what many people don't know is that when I'm around the office, I have a tie on my desk, but I don't wear it when I'm in the office. So that's the culture we're trying to create as well, a bit more relaxed but still focused on the end client. So I thought I'd try to look like you even though I don't like you. You also rang the bell. That's the most expensive round of drinks. You can shout, and it's also the most rewarding if you have the chance to do it. So it's my pleasure to welcome you here to ASX tonight. We're very proud to support the Deloitte Technology Fast 50. It's a very positive initiative from our perspective because it raises the profile of some of Australia's fastest growing and most dynamic companies. I'd like to congratulate, of course, all the companies that are on this year's list. Given the strength of competition in the industry in Australia and with the rapid increase in the number of high growth firms that we're seeing, there's little doubt that you're all amongst the best in your field, so congratulations from me to you. The listed tech sector in Australia has a strong history, but we believe it's got an even brighter future. Of course, we've had companies like Seek, the RIA Group, Carsales.com, Vocus Communications, who are world leaders in their respective fields already. And they've been very strong advocates for the sector and for the growth that can be achieved by technology companies in Australia and by listing on the ASX. And of course, this year we've seen further success with the IPOs of Ostforex, Freelancer, iCentia, Gentrack, Vista, and 3P Learning. And I love going to the listing ceremonies of these new companies because they're incredibly exciting. Matt Berry of Freelancer pulled the rope off the bell, believe it or not, and started a tradition where if you now ring the bell, you get the rope. And so we've handed out quite a few already, so hopefully one day you have the chance to do that too. And if you've already listed and you haven't received the rope, feel free to talk to Max, and I'm sure we can get one for you. 3P Learning brought the guitars out and composed a song about their journey as a startup all the way to a listing at the ASX. So it's a fantastic sector to be part of, and for a serious company, I love being part of those ceremonies because it's so positive. We are of course becoming increasingly successful because the combined market capitalization of the tech sector last year was over $2 billion. And we're very fortunate in this country that we have access to the third largest pool of investable funds in the world, $1.9 trillion as we sit here today. A very diverse investor base, and in fact, more than 40% of the investment in ASX-listed companies is coming from offshore, so you're tapping foreign capital already. In addition, we're consistently ranked amongst the leading markets for initial and secondary capital raisings in the world, and we were talking earlier here about how ASX really has a sweet spot in the Asia-Pacific region for tech listings now, either because this is the place you want to be forever, or because this is the place where you grow up to something so large that you have no choice but to end up in the United States. And I'm okay with that too, so long as you're successful and start your lives with us. I'd like to congratulate Deloitte for conducting another rewarding Technology Fast 50 program. And of course, I wish you all the best tonight, and as you grow your amazing companies to something even more amazing. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Elmer, and on behalf of Deloitte Private, to all of you, a very warm welcome, and thank you very much for joining us this evening. My name's David Hill, and I'm privileged to lead Deloitte Private nationally here in Australia. Well, I was thinking, how do you sort of make some sort of an insightful comment in such a short 5 minutes presentation? I was reflecting on each of you here tonight, all of our Tech Fast 50 participants, but indeed all of us. And there's one thing in common that we all have, and that is that all of us have been given certain gifts. We didn't do anything to deserve them, we inherited them. We've all got certain talents, but it's the choices that we make us special. You see, the gifts can just totally lie dormant, can't they? We can leave them and we can squander them. But each of you as entrepreneurs, all of our Tech Fast 50 participants here tonight have made a big choice, a really big choice. And that is not to allow your future just to happen to you, but to go out and create it, to be an entrepreneur. And that takes a lot of guts, a lot of passion, and it also takes a lot of endurance and perseverance, because the road ahead for all of you, the road you've already been on, but the road ahead's not going to be an easy one. It doesn't all just happen, as you well know, but you've made a choice. And I think all of us here tonight would encourage you to persevere, to realise your dreams and follow your passion. So tonight, we do two things really. We thank you, because you're having a big impact on this great country of ours. Australia's always been renowned for its can-do attitude, and you guys are still living the dream, and that's a beautiful thing. So we thank you for that. I'm a father of 3, and it's a beautiful thing to think that there's entrepreneurs creating opportunities for the young ones coming through in life. The other thing is we salute you. We say well done. We admire your courage, and you're an inspiration to all of us. Each of us in our own little way are entrepreneurs. Each of us do little things different each day, but it's you guys who are really brave, who take your future into your hands, that inspire all of us. So we salute you. Finally, you can't do a speech like this without a little bit of an advertorial. And I wanted to just share with you how we at Deloitte Private have tried to make ourselves very relevant to you. Because you might think it's somewhat curious really that a Big Four accounting firm would have such an interest in the technology space, particularly at the early stage. We don't think it's curious at all, because we see you as our future. We want to grow with you from the very start and right through the journey, right through to being one of, we hope, the largest companies in the world. And many of our participants in this program have achieved exactly that. So what we did 2 years ago, we set out on a journey to build what we term Deloitte Private Connect. It's a fully cloud-based system that allows us to share the same accounting ledger as you, to work alongside of you, to give you real-time financial information on your journey, and to cut out a lot of the administration that can start to choke you and detract you from following the passion which made you start up your business in the first place. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to one of my colleagues, Lisa, to come and just share with you a little bit about something we're really excited about, which is Deloitte Private Connect. Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, David. I'm truly excited to be here tonight with such a group of passionate change makers, because that's really what this room is full of. We and our teams love working with people who are really passionate about what they do, because we as a group are really passionate about what we do, and that's working with businesses to help grow them, to help make them more profitable, more valuable and stronger. But what that does is your success speaks to a single and disciplined focus. You had an idea, and you've taken that idea and you turned it into something tangible. And as we know with growth, as David's spoken to, it comes with growing pains. Nothing comes easily. And one of the pains, if I can call it that, of a startup business, a number of them, is that you have your name in every single box in a structure chart. When you start out, you walk out on the first day, you've got your idea, you live in every single box of that business structure chart. Let's be honest, you're not good at all of them. You probably don't even know what some of those titles should be, which sit in those boxes. So what we've done with using a tool like Deloitte Private Connect is, from the outset, to put another name in that box. We can, with our platform, help you to focus on what you're good at, and we can do what we're good at. Let the experts do their thing. You're expert at what you do, we'll take the pain away. So our aim is to work with you using the platform so that we can help you to grow your business, work closely, and ultimately come out of the other side stronger. The fact that you're all here tonight is testament to the fact that you've got good businesses, you've got the growth part down pat. Cash flow, profit, I could go on with a myriad of other things that a business needs to become successful. Cash is king, you need to be profitable. How do you know your business is tracking to what it needs to grow? I have a client that I've been working with for a number of years. He's the first to admit he's not financially literate. He started out, left school, had a great idea. He's the first to admit that he's made big mistakes. There was a time a couple of years ago where he almost lost everything, including the family home. Bad decisions, no information. We managed to help him through the other side. We've got him on a platform like Connect. We're talking to him on a monthly basis, talking to him through his numbers, his back end, what's going right, what's going wrong. How can he grow his business and really take that to the next level? Without a relationship and a tool to give this business information in real time to identify the key drivers of what needed to happen, he probably wouldn't have a home today. And so in summary, that's what's important for us, working closely with you to help you focus on what matters best and most to your business, to grow, to achieve, to stand here and hopefully ring that bell at some point in the very near future, and we can take care of the rest. So using Connect, we can give you insight into your business in real time. We can interpret the facts as they stand and translate them into something meaningful. We can help you make better decisions from the outset. We can work with you in a way that you need to do to make your business better. We can be your finance department, and you can focus on what you're passionate about, not pulling numbers together. So thank you again. I'm really honoured to be here tonight amongst such a fantastic group and successful group, and we hope that we can work a lot more closely with you into the future to take you up to that next level.
Thanks, Lisa. As a fellow partner in Deloitte Private, I'm incredibly proud of how Deloitte Private's embraced technology and innovation and changing the way that we serve our clients. I'd now like to introduce Stuart Johnston. Stuart is our national technology leader and telco industry leader within Deloitte. And he's going to have a fireside chat with a 5 times iconic tech success story within Australia, James Spenceley from Vocus Communication. James started the business in 2008, was a pre-revenue business, is now over a $500 million market capitalisation company, and he's here to really tell us the growth story of Vocus. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Josh. Welcome, James. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight. As Josh was saying, it's been an amazing growth story for Vocus. Again, 38% growth in 2014, coming through to nearly $100 million revenue. You stand today with a $500 million market cap. It's been an outstanding journey. But what have been some of the lessons that you've learnt along the way, and those choices, as David referred to, that you've made along the way?
Yeah, I suppose, it's very hard to summarise, the choices along the way on a journey that's gone from sort of no revenue to where we probably this year, consensus basis, $150 million. But I think some of the key things is building a culture. We started from day one, we built a culture of people that, could act quickly, that could understand the value of a dollar and how we invest it, whether that be, a network engineer or whether that's a salesperson. We just created a culture of people that wanted to succeed, and we brought people together, and we actually got rid of people very quickly if they didn't fit that culture.
Yeah.
Somebody talked to me the other day about a business that we've come across that has a lot of politics in it, and it was actually a real reality check for us that we just don't have any politics in our company. We've got 250 staff, and we almost have, I'm sure there's a little bit, but really very, very little politics. There's no silos, there's no people battling each other. The answer always needs to be, what's the best thing for our business and for our shareholders? And I think we built that culture from day one. So people are very focused on what makes this business succeed, not what makes me in my position more important to the company. Because if that's your view, we execute really quickly.
Yeah. And what's the slogan you use? I know it's similar to the All Blacks have the no dickhead slogan in their policy. Right. You've got something similar.
So a couple of years ago, as we grew past about 150 odd employees, previous to 150, I could know everyone's name, and sit down, and you could almost, my culture and the culture of our managers was pretty easy to instill upon people. But past about 150 people, you can't do that anymore. There's some people you just don't know. So we set about actually creating our values. It was something we'd never done before. And we sat down with kind of my team and about 8 and kind of wrote out what we thought our values were. Brought that to kind of the broader business, the people who've been around since day one, and then so some test groups, and we kind of came up with our values. And the first value we came up with was clever company, no muppets. Yeah. And I think we've all used that. That guy's a complete muppet, right? And I think the interesting thing about values was we sat down and we sort of said, well, let's look at all these companies and see what values they have. We thought, we'll pick the pillars of Australian society, we'll pick the banks. The first one we went to was ANZ, and their values were respect, integrity, and teamwork. And they had a couple of others. And then we thought, well, let's look at the biggest corporate failures in the history of the world, and let's look at their values and see what they're like. And Enron, their first 3 values were respect, integrity, and teamwork. And you kind of look at that and say, well, these people just pick words out of the dictionary that kind of sound good, that impress investors. But those 3 words didn't impact the lives of people working in Enron, and they didn't impact the lives of the people working at ANZ, because they're just words, they're not interpreted. If I ask you what red means, it's going to be very different than, what does red mean? You just don't know, right? So we went down the path of creating values that people could really interpret. So we're a clever company with no muppets. So if you're being a muppet, you get called out on that very, very easily.
As you've been through that growth cycle, obviously you'll feel pain. There'll be times when you need people there. How hard has it been to actually hold true to that when you're in that stage when you're busy and you just need that person there to get that done? Have you found the challenge along the way of actually holding true to the values as you've gone through those busy times?
That's an interesting question. I think the one thing that we've always done is hire people too late.
Yeah.
We kind of at the last minute hire people because obviously we're now ASX listed. Thank you, Ilma. We're very happily ASX listed. But one of the issues is, in the very early days, there was just a massive focus on us driving profit growth, right? So we just don't go out and hire 50 people when we need 50 people. We hire them, throughout the year when we're almost at breaking point, and that's probably one of the key things that we've done in the culture we've created is, we only hire people when we absolutely desperately need them. And I think that we start pretty, we plan it pretty well. So we tend to hire people through our networks. If you look at our company, we've got 255 employees. The greater percentage of that, probably 80 or 90%, we've hired through networks than recruiters. And I think that's helped us a lot as well. But equally, we've created an environment where people want to come and work there. And I think that's the key thing. If you actually want to attract the staff that you want to attract, the right people, but no muppets, you've got to give them something. And in our case, it wasn't an easy 9-to-5 job. It was a 8 till 8 job with lots of stress. And but the thing that we gave our staff members is an opportunity to work on, if they're in technology, they have a lot more responsibility than they would in working at Telstra. If they were in finance, our finance people would be working on complexity of issues that they normally would never see. So we gave them career path, we empowered them, we said, well look, if you want to take on responsibility, we're going to give it to you, but you better not screw up. Right? So I think it gave people kind of a leg up, they could jump a couple of career paths, and when we were 10 people, that was great, and on a resume that probably didn't make much difference later on. But as we're a much larger company now, that empowering nature of giving people more and more responsibility as they take it allows them to have something really fantastic on them. Our junior accountant, is now our financial controller of a $500 million company with 150 million of revenue next year. So that was the enticing thing that we used to bring people to the company.
And I guess a company of your size now, everyone would expect you to have a very clear strategy that's articulated to all the staff. But how have you managed your strategy on the way through, and how important has a clear laser-like focus on where you want to play and how you're going to win been?
Yeah, it's a great dichotomy. We did our first ever survey 2 years ago of our staff. We basically got an external consultant in to do it. They take the survey results given to Macquarie University, who's done 2,000 of these, and then sort of rate us against the industry. Macquarie University called us up and said, we've never seen results like this. The half the survey was, we were in the top percentile, and the other half of the survey we were in the bottom percentile. And one of those ones was communicating, to staff what our vision was. I thought everyone knew it, but I was so busy in my day job, kind of dealing with investors and buying companies that probably hadn't communicated that. So we certainly took the time then to understand what people wanted, which was to know exactly where we're going, how we're going about it, and the way we want to do it. So we created a set of goals and a set of values at that point 2 years ago, which really helped us.
Just shifting gears slightly, I mean, there's a lot of discussion today about how, particularly as tech startups and as technology companies, we really now do play in a global world. There's a lot of Australian companies looking at Silicon Valley and other areas and how they move there. Where's global fitted into the strategy for Vocus, and where's your thinking on global?
It depends what you define as global. We went into New Zealand 4 years ago. We made another acquisition there. I don't know if New Zealand qualifies as global, but we set up, we have POPs in Singapore and Hong Kong. For a while we flirted with the idea of opening a Japanese office back in probably 2009 before we listed, for the purpose of really replicating the business there. And I think I always say it internally, is the best decisions we've ever made is the decision we made not to do things. Setting up Japan was just a full paradise. It looked good, but we were never going to overcome the culture and the distance and all those kind of issues. So global for me is something that a lot of the small businesses that I've invested in, the tech startups, their dream goal is to go global as soon as they possibly can. And I just don't think people understand the complexity. They see the size of, let's say, the US market. They say, wow, if I can sell 1% of that, I've made it. But the issue is you've got to run before you can walk. And I think one of the great things we did was to really stay focused on our local market, prove that before we went to New Zealand and before we even consider global expansion. I think people underrate the complexities and the risk involved in taking your focus off your key market.
So, I mean, we're now sitting between these guys and their next beer or wine or whatever
and my next
choice might be. That's more importantly. But so, you've shared some insights tonight. Are there any final insights that you'd like to share with these guys, particularly as the guys that are in those earlier stages of growth where you guys were only a short while ago?
Yeah, look, I think Lisa actually, it's Lisa, right? Lisa summed it up pretty well. It's, when you start the business, you've got to do everything. When I started the business, I was the first employee. I was cleaning the office, I was doing the billing run, I was designing the GL, and I was selling to customers and building the network and doing everything. And I think one of the greatest things that I did well was to understand when I needed someone to focus specifically on a task, not just do it part-time, which is what I was doing. And I think that really helped. So, you know, I do the billing run every month, and I would know exactly, you know, how many customers we had and, you know, who was billing, and I could find you any anomalies, you know. But at some point that just broke, right? I couldn't keep track of that, so I had to hire someone to do that. You know, now that person's hired a number of people to do that for them. So, you know, I think it's about knowing when to give up the task to someone, and then, as hard as it actually is, give it up.
Yeah.
You know, and focus on the things that you're going to do and add value to. And I think that's probably been the interesting way for me to look at the business and say, you know, over time, what functions do I need someone dedicated to that either I'm doing or someone below me is doing, and then hand that off to somebody who specialises and does the job really well.
Well, I think the Vocus story over the last 5-7 years now has been an absolutely fantastic one. You're obviously on the cusp of some, hopefully some exciting new, even further eras, the next era, I guess, for the company. So, for all of us here, congratulations firstly on the journey that you've achieved, and certainly best of luck with that journey forward and over the next 12 months and the years ahead as well. So, please please join me in thanking.
James never found it that hard to give up accounting. We're going to take a break now for about 20 minutes, and then we'll get on to the business end of the evening. So please take the opportunity to network, mingle, extend your networks. Thanks very much.